sometimes talking about money or financial things can be a little boring or overwhelming or confusing, or not a lot of people like to sit and talk about money and numbers. So I appreciate you guys for even being here. Like Peter said, my name's Lucas, and I grew up in Arizona. I was born in Long Beach, and so I've got a lot of extended family in Southern California and the Phoenix area, which is part of why I live here now. I really liked listening to some of your answers about what money means to you. I think they were deeper than I expected, that's for sure. I know, had you asked me that question when I was a sophomore or junior in college, I wouldn't even really known how to answer it. My dad was a VP of sales for a large company, and I had two debit cards that whenever I needed some extra money to go into downtown Chicago to hang out with friends, I would just say, Dad, I need a little bit more, and it was there. They paid for my private college. Growing up, I wanted for very little, and my sophomore year of college, my dad lost his job, and everything in our lives, my family's life, changed pretty dramatically. That summer between my sophomore and junior year, I had to kind of kick it in gear based off of a decision to graduate a year early because I had to pay for college now. And so I went to a private school that cost $30,000 to $40,000 a year, and so my dad couldn't pay for it anymore, but I really wanted to still graduate from Wheaton, and I ended up taking out a $35,000 student loan from Chase Bank, and had no idea really what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to go back to Wheaton, and I wanted to be with my friends, and I was going to graduate with my friends. I wasn't going to transfer. And that year, really, everything completely changed because no longer was I able to do as many things as I used to do, but I had to think about, okay, what's next? Until that point, I really didn't have to worry much. I didn't have to really think, okay, what's next, other than what classes am I going to take next semester? Which house do I want to live in? Who do I want to ask out on a date? Where am I going to eat tonight? Those things. And it became a very quick shift into what felt for me was adulthood. And I didn't really like it. It wasn't very fun. But it really shaped who I am today and what I'm doing today. So it ended up taking my dad a year and a half to find another job that ended up paying significantly less than his other job. My mom, who hadn't worked in 20 plus years, went back to the workforce, and she ended up getting a job with the Vanguard Mutual Fund Group. Vanguard Group has headquarters in Pennsylvania, in North Carolina, and Scottsdale, Arizona. And she went and got a job there as a client service representative on the phones, starting off. And I remember my parents being really open with me throughout the entire financial kind of what I call crisis, because they had to tell me we can't do this anymore. And they explained a lot of the details about what had happened. They had gone through a period of time where the housing market was on the rise. Putting money in real estate, you couldn't go wrong. And they went to some seminar that taught them how to invest in real estate and ended up taking a loan out on the house that they already owned to buy 2 more houses to rent out to make money and be able to retire early was the goal. But we all know what happened in 2008, 2009. Everything crashed, including the real estate market. And that was right at the time that my dad lost his job. And so it was really devastating for them. And I remember listening and seeing and watching the angst that they went through and the struggle that they had to deal with every single day, and thought to myself, did this have to happen? Like what went wrong? Because I thought the world of my parents. I thought they made all the right decisions. I had no doubts about them in my mind, and then this happened and it just didn't equate. And so the fact that they were pretty honest with me through that time frame really helped me see the need, in America at least, for sound financial advice. Just advice for people, to be able to give them objective advice when they're having to make a decision. Do I take this big loan out against the loan on my house to buy 2 more houses, when I don't really have very much in my savings account, when I haven't been saving for retirement, when my kid's going to go to college in a couple of years? They didn't have a financial planner. They didn't have a financial advisor. And my mom went to go work for a mutual fund company, which is what financial advisors use to help people's money grow. Everything that she was learning at Vanguard, she would tell me when I was at college. We'd catch up on the phone. She'd be like, Lucas, the information, the stuff I'm learning, if only your dad and I would have known at your age, our whole lives would have been different. And so listening to them, watching them, is what got me interested, at least initially, in the fact that there is a strong need for advice. There's a strong need for help in this arena in our country, and that's kind of all I knew at that point. And I thought, well, my mom likes working at Vanguard. My dad, took him a year and a half. He ended up getting a job at Vanguard too, because he couldn't get a job anywhere else. So they're both at the same company, both talking to me about what they're learning, and it got me a little bit interested in the world of investing. Fast forward, graduate a year early, but didn't know what the heck I was going to do. I was 20, and I had a senior year that I was supposed to enjoy with my friends, and I wanted to enjoy it. But I had and I was an RA my junior year, so I decided to apply to work in the dorms my senior year, even though I graduated, and ended up getting a job as an assistant residence director. I took 1 2-credit grad school class to be a student so I could have that position. I had a lot of help from the administration. It was a small school, so it was great in that regard. So I got to stick around for a 4th year, but I had a summer to do something. Prior to that, I'd been going back home and working at In-N-Out Burger. That was my first job, and I worked there for 5 years. Absolutely loved it. Great company. Even though I was started in high school making $11 an hour, and 6-7 years ago, that was a lot of money per hour. I knew that I needed to make more money, because when I graduated and Chase Bank sent me a letter saying, in 6 months from now, your first loan payment's due. And with that loan payment, they attached this big page of numbers that basically showed, okay, over the life of this 30-year loan that you owe us, here's everything that you'll pay back, the $30,000 or $35,000, and then here's the interest that you'll pay on that in that time frame, and here's the total amount in 30 years from now that you will have paid for that 3rd year at Wheaton. And when I saw that number, it was almost 3 times the original amount. So we're talking almost $100,000 for a $35,000 loan. And when I saw that, I was like, holy crap. You know, what could I do over the next 30 years with an extra 60 grand? Probably a lot. And so I decided I've got to figure out a way to get this paid off fast, because that's scary. And I had a friend from high school, grew up in Scottsdale. He went to Arizona State University. He, the summer prior, when I was flipping burgers at In-N-Out, was out selling education books with Southwestern Company. And I remember he would call me during the summer when he could on Sundays, and he would tell me the funniest stories about people he was meeting out on the book field and the experiences he was having. But then he came back at the end of the summer before our senior year, his at ASU, mine at Wheaton, and he told me that he had made $15,000 doing this job. And I said, there's no way you made that much money in 3 months. I said, okay, well, what were you selling? Because I was very skeptical. And he explained it a little bit more to me, and I said, well, if you did it, I bet I can do it. We were pretty good friends in high school, and we always gave each other a hard time. So I thought that, if Scott can do it, then heck, I can at least do that. And so I ended up meeting with him and a manager, which I don't know, some of you may have met Matt Ross, quirky fellow. He was my first student manager, and he helped Scott train me. From Arizona, I was in Chicago, so on the phone, to go out and sell some books after graduating. So I went and sold books in St. Louis, Missouri, my first summer, and it was by far the hardest thing I'd ever done. But I made $13,000 after a summer and was like, this is awesome. Granted, I was done with school and I realized, oh wait, okay, $13,000, I can't just throw all of that at the loan. I have to live this year. Like I have to go find another job, or if I want to do this book thing again next summer, I've got to figure out a way to get to next summer. And so that experience, even though I made that money, worked really hard to make that money, felt empowered by making that money, I realized, okay, I've got to now choose how to use this money. Because so often when we think about money, we think about, okay, if I have X amount, if I could just have this, then I'll be happy, or then I won't have to think about it or worry about it anymore. You'd be shocked. Some of the wealthiest clients that I work with are the most concerned, worried, anxious about money. And they could decide to go to Hawaii for the rest of their lives and not have to worry about a thing, and probably still pass on money to their kids. But they're worried and they can be stressed. So it's an interesting concept, an interesting topic, but I learned and had to learn by necessity, and hopefully in me telling you this story, it can help give you kind of almost like a spoiler alert, or like a warning, or like a precursor, so that you don't have to learn by necessity too, and that you can learn ahead of time. I had to learn, okay, this is how much I have. I had to think, this is how much I need each month to spend. How do I make this last for the next 9 months before I can go sell books again and make more money? And that, in and of itself, just changed everything for me in terms of learning and forcing myself to figure out how to do that. And so that was a big turning point. And selling books itself, it really taught me how to push through challenges and through struggles that I thought I couldn't overcome. One thing about the summer internship, we work a lot. We work a lot of hours, and you don't get to have a lot of fun. Honestly, it's not the most fun thing you could do in a summer. There's a lot more fun things you could do during a summer. Talk to your friends. They're probably going to go do them. But learning how to delay gratification is something that has changed my life, and changed not just my personal life, but my financial life as well. Learning how to say, okay, if I can just hold off on taking that trip, or going and seeing that movie, or hanging out with my friends, or whatever it be, for 3 months until the end of the summer, it'll be so much better then, because I'll have a dent made in my loan, and I'll have more money in 30 years from now than I would right now, even if I want to do something right now. Saying no to now for something better later is what I mean by delayed gratification. And selling books taught me a lot of discipline in regards to that. So anyway, back to my story. Parents started working at Vanguard. They were teaching me about money. I told myself that once my loans were paid off, I wanted to go into financial planning. I wanted to go into financial advising. I wanted to help people avoid the mistakes that they made. And so that's what I kind of committed myself to. And so I went back out and sold 2 more summers, one in Raleigh, North Carolina, and the other one, my last one, in San Francisco. And I still remember that incredible feeling after San Francisco of going online and clicking the submit button to pay off the last like $15,000 of that loan, to where I didn't owe a single penny to anybody. I was even, like I was at the level even, wasn't in the hole. Granted, I only had a little bit left in my bank account and had to figure out, okay, what's next. But I was able to start at a place where, for me, it could only be up. I wasn't trying to dig myself out. I got to start working my way up. And that's the best place to be. And right now, while we are young and while we have a lot of time left, it's an incredible opportunity to use that in your favor. And getting to a place of even allows you to do so in an exponential, compounding kind of way. So 3 years ago, I finished selling books after San Francisco, and I decided to go into financial planning. One of our sister companies, actually, of Southwestern, does investments. They're headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. And so they had a mentorship program for a 2-year commitment, and they accepted me into the mentorship program. And so I moved to Nashville for 2 years to be trained and mentored under a certified financial planner. And they paid for me to get my licensing, my Series 7, my 66, my health and life insurance licensing. They allowed me to get a lot of hands-on training, meeting with clients, working with people's situations, placing trades, moving money, doing all the things that I would be doing on a day-to-day basis as a financial planner. And it was a really incredible opportunity that I would not have had I not gotten plugged into Southwestern. That company started by a guy, the president of the firm. He sold books back when he was in college 15, 20 years ago. And so the thing that I just did to try to get my loans paid off ended up helping me land in a career path that I wanted to land in. So it helped in a lot of different ways. But after 2 years of working under my mentor, I wanted to move back out west to be closer to family. And so a year ago, my wife and I, we moved here to San Diego. And I partnered with a senior advisor at a Ameriprise financial firm in Del Mar. His name's Neil Littlejohn. So the name of the firm is Littlejohn and Associates. He's like a senior partner. I'm like a junior. And it's pretty cool. He's been in the business for over 25 years and has an incredible set of clients that he works with that I get to meet and work with as well. And yeah, it's awesome. Had you told me 5 years ago this is where I would be now, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have had no idea where I would have been. And along the way, I was fortunate enough to meet and marry my wife, Ellen. She also sold books for 2 summers to pay off her student loans. And so by the time she graduated college and I graduated college and we got married, we had no debt and money saved, actually. She was able to save from her last summer selling books. I had been funding a retirement account, and so had she prior to that. I did because my parents told me, do this now, do this now. And I'll show you some numbers in a second that are basically what they showed me. And I was like, oh, okay, I can figure out a way to do that. And you might feel the same way. But Beginning our careers and our marriage with no debt and some extra savings has allowed us to do a lot and to experience a lot of freedom, to experience a lot of security, independence from a bank, from our parents. And because we both worked hard, we were able to do a lot of different things. Before we got engaged, we went over to Europe to visit her family. She grew up in Germany, and so we were over there in Germany visiting her family, and we decided to hop down to Italy for a couple days and got to visit Italy. We were able to do that because we had money from selling books. We love to travel, and we've been able to travel a lot. We were in Mexico multiple times. Neither of us have been to New York City, so we're going to New York City in 2 months, and then Chicago at the end of the summer to visit friends. So being able to have the freedom to stay in touch with friends and go visit them because we've made certain decisions 5 years ago and then stuck to those have already given us the opportunity to do some cool things. We were able to make a move to San Diego from Nashville, Tennessee. Like, you couldn't have two polar opposite cost of living cities, and we were able to do so comfortably. By delaying our gratification, not taking on any more debt, sticking to a savings plan, we actually just 2 months ago bought our first house up in Encinitas, 3 miles from the beach. And I'm 26, she's 25. Like, these are things that, like, you can do at a young age, but it requires a little bit of discipline and just consistent habits. And so, yeah, I wanted to just tell you a little bit more about the story of how I've gotten to where I've gotten, because it's not normal, but it's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think that had I not been told when I was 19 years old by my parents, hey, consider doing this, because this is how we ended up because we didn't do it. It really changed things a lot for me. So I kind of want to give you some practicals now, a little bit of like the how-to go about making a difference financially now and then in the long run. I think it's important to develop a vision for yourself financially, whatever that might be. For me, it was getting my student loan paid off. That's what kind of started this whole thing. The time value of money can work for you guys because of your age. And I say you guys, I mean us guys, because I'm still really young too. The time value of money can also work against us because of our decisions. And like I said earlier, the biggest challenge in life is to get to that even place, to get even. But right now we're in a place where you can, and if you do, it'll make a huge difference really quickly, actually. So I want to show you this this chart, and it's a little overwhelming. It's a bunch of numbers, but I want to explain it to you to prove and to show the fact that the time value of money can work for you or against you. And this kind of has to do with my story, because it's basically what Chase Bank showed me. Smartaboutmoney.org is actually a free website that has a tremendous amount of really easy to use, intuitive financial tips. There's actually a guide just for college students called cashcourse.org. If you go to cashcourse.org, it's really helpful. So, and if you have a booklet, a lead book, you can go ahead and get it out. This is in there. I want to show you the Rule of 72. The Rule of 72 is basically a financial concept that says if you take the interest rate that you need to achieve or that you're earning or paying on your money, you divide it by 72, that's how long it'll take for your money, your investment, to double, or double in the negatives. So right here, you can see we've got a student loan for $60,000. and the interest rate on that loan is 6.8%, which is most student loans nowadays. That student's going to have a monthly payment of $391.16 for 30 years after graduating. So over the course of those 30 years, they will have paid that $60,000 back plus $80,815 of interest. So that's more money in interest than the actual loan amount. Yeah, it's a lot of money. The other side of the coin is the rule of 72 working for you. This is kind of weird. Okay. Starting at age 19, if you were to invest $2,000 per year, and hold on, I'm going to cover it up right now, but it's so weird. It's crazy. You think investing $2,000 a year for a total of 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 7 years, 6 years, $2,000 for 6 years isn't that much, but if you were to do that and stop putting any money into an account for the rest of that life until age 67, you would end up with $1.1 million. So you invest $14,000 now while you're young to have 1.1 when you retire at 67. This person over here did things a little differently and waited until age 26 to begin doing $2,000 a year. Sorry. So if you start at age 26 and invest $2,000 a year, it would take you doing so until age 60 to get to the same place, $1.1 million. So you can either invest $14,000 now for the next 6 years or $70,000 over 34 years and have the same amount. That's a huge difference in terms of what it takes to get something later. And it has to do with the fact that every single year when money grows on itself, so this is assuming it earns 10% per year up top there, every year it grows on itself, it's growing on an amount, like a new amount. And so the earlier you can get that in there, the earlier it can start growing 10% on that amount, and the quicker it gets to a big number versus starting later and it growing and not having as many years for that compounding effect to take place. Yes?
Would you still get the equivalent amount if you're willing to do like 1,000 for the 14 years rather than 2 for 7?
It's a good question. No, you wouldn't. Because you are lowering the amount that gets to compound on itself and spreading it out a little more. Granted, that's still better than waiting. Anything you can get saved now can make a difference in 40 years from now, basically. A big difference. And so that was just a cool thing that helped me realize and see numbers in a very different way about how they can work for me or against me. And the other practical thing I want to tell you guys is the whole spending plan. That's something that I never had to even learn about or use until I graduated college. And trying to learn how to do that earlier on is going to help you a lot to get to be able to be in a really great place when you graduate from college. And if you go to that website that I told you about, there's some great tips there to help you create that spending plan and help get you to the point where you can begin investing for your future. So that's what I have for you guys. Thank you for listening.